Hello, fellow heirs, and welcome back to Weekday Wind Down with the Word, where we are reading through the book of Genesis. And today we will be reading the 39th chapter of Genesis in the NLT version. So without any further ado, let's start reading. Joseph in Potiphar's house. When Joseph was taken to Egypt by the Ishmaelites traders, he was purchased by Potiphar, an Egyptian officer. Potiphar was a captain of the guard for Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. The Lord was with Joseph, so he succeeded in everything he did as he served in the house of his Egyptian master. Potiphar noticed this and realized that the Lord was with Joseph, giving him success in everything he did. This pleased Potiphar, so he soon made Joseph his personal attendant. He put him in charge of his entire household and everything he owned. From the day Joseph was put in charge of his master's household and property, the Lord began to bless Potiphar's household for Joseph's sake. All his household affairs ran smoothly, and his crops and livestock flourished. So Potiphar gave Joseph complete administrative responsibility over everything he owned. With Joseph there, he didn't have to worry about a thing except what kind of food to eat. Joseph was a very handsome and well-built young man, and Potiphar's wife soon began to look at him lustfully. "Come and sleep with me," she demanded. But Joseph refused. "Look," he told her, "my master trusts me with everything in his entire household. No one here has more authority than I do. He has held back nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How could I do such a wicked thing? It would be a great sin against God." She kept putting pressure on Joseph day after day, but he refused to sleep with her, and he kept out of her way as much as possible. One day, however, no one else was around when he went in to do his work. She came and grabbed him by his cloak, demanding, "Come on, sleep with me." Joseph tore himself away, but he left his cloak in her hand as he ran from her house. When she saw that she was holding his cloak and he fled, she called out to her servant. Soon all the men came running. "Look," she said, "my husband had brought this Hebrew slave here to make fools of us. He came into my room to rape me, but I screamed. When he heard me screaming, he ran outside and got away, but he left his cloak behind with me." She kept the cloak with her until her husband came home. Then she told him her story. "That Hebrew slave you brought into our house tried to come in and fool around with me," she said. "But when I screamed, he ran outside, leaving his cloak with me." Joseph put in prison. Potiphar was furious when he heard his wife's story about how Joseph treated her. So he took Joseph and threw him into the prison where the king's prisoners were held, and there he remained. But the Lord was with Joseph in the prison and showed him his faithful love. And the Lord made Joseph a favorite with the prison warden. Before long, the warden put Joseph in charge of all the other prisoners and over everything that happened in the prison. The warden had no more worries because Joseph took care of everything. The Lord was with him and caused everything he did to succeed. And that concludes the reading of Genesis, the 39th chapter. This is really interesting, but the whole time I was thinking about how God gave Joseph favor and how he was with him, and so everything that he touched succeeded. And that makes me think of Psalms 1, and how that if we delight ourselves in the Lord, and if we keep away from evildoers, and we just set our mind on God and doing his business, then he will make us successful in everything that we do. And I just thought about that, how Joseph, no matter what he touched, his hands touched, he was blessed. And wherever he worked, it was blessed. They were blessed because God gave Joseph favor in that regard. And so I was thinking about that and how awesome God is, and how when we have the favor of God on our lives, there's no stopping us. Potiphar's wife, she did Joseph wrong. Yes, it was very wrong. But I do like the fact that it never in the Bible, even as I go forward, it never tells, at least I don't think so. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. It never says anything about Joseph trying to get back at Potiphar's wife for what she did. Joseph went on about his business. Of course, he couldn't do much in prison, but later on he becomes even more successful, and he never reached back, and he never got her in trouble. And he possibly could have later on in life when he became more successful, but he left it in the hands of the Lord. And I'm sure that the Lord, he took care of her. He probably took care of her in some way, because he does not like for others to touch his anointed, those that he loves. God looks out for us. And I guess the moral of this story is that when you have the favor of God on you, you shouldn't worry about anything or anyone, because God has your back, and he will take care of you, and he will provide for you, and he will pave a way for you. And that's what he's doing in the life of Joseph. And even though, we go through some hard times, it doesn't mean that God is not going to use those challenges to turn out for good. And later on, we'll read about that in Joseph's life, how Joseph's brothers did him wrong, Potiphar's wife did him wrong, but in the end, God had a plan. And so I'm just thinking about even the world today. There's so many evil things going on in the world today, but I know, and I hope that you keep this in mind and on your heart, that despite all of the evilness and wickedness that's going on today, stay focused on Christ, stay focused on God, because he has a plan and he has it all worked out. He has it all worked out. He already knew that this was going to happen. He knew everything that's happening was going to happen, but he has a plan for it. So we are not to stress or strain over it. If we're worrying about it in the least, give it over to God. Pray about it and leave it there. Okay, I'm going to leave it right there. Thank you once again for listening to Weekday Wind Down with the Word. And I hope you'll be joining me tomorrow as we read the 40th chapter of Genesis in the NLT version. Thank you so much, and y'all continue to be blessed. Bye.